Joining us today is somebody who honestly needs no introduction. This is Swati Gupta. She is the Capability Director at Bodycraft Salons, and she is honestly the hair guru for the country. Swati has over 15 years of experience when it comes to hair care, hair color. She's a Vela accredited color expert in India. She is trained from Vidal Sassoon, and Swati also handles a lot of the behind the scenes when it comes to choosing the services. She experiences the products, the services, all of the new introductions at salon. She makes sure she does the quality checks. She makes sure everything is just as beneficial for consumers. And yeah, she's just an overall hair expert. So, Swati, we are doing a monsoon special segment today. So, before we dive right in, tell me, why do people struggle the most with hair and skin concerns during the monsoon season?
So, hi, Merin.
Hi.
Firstly, thank you for the intro.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. And I've been working in this field since I was 16. So, actually, close to 25 years of experience. So, like any other season, whether it is summer or it is winter, monsoon just happens to be another season. And especially in a city like Bangalore, it seems to be a more prolonged season.
Yeah.
This year we are seeing a monsoon which is going on almost for 4 to
Started in May.
6 months, right? If it continues till almost October, then we're almost having about 6 months of monsoon. So, like any other season, it brings with it its set of issues, right? Some people flourish, some scalps and skins actually flourish during the monsoon. It's the best season to have a naturally dewy look. You look like you know, any time of the day you're looking like glass skin. Right? So it comes with its advantages and of course it comes with its disadvantages. People with naturally oily skin, it's horror for them because it's like, you know, you can't stop sweating. If you overall have a tendency in the body to sweat, then of course it's just frustrating because you step into the shower, you're sweating, you step out of the shower, you're sweating. It's just, you know, it's a never-ending cycle. People with a tendency to have slightly irritated scalp, to have itchiness, it's a struggle for them. And the worst struggle is for people who have slightly dry, frizzy hair, because then it is just becoming, it's expanding beyond control. People with curly hair struggle tremendously because as it is, maybe they find it tough to give their curls shape, for the curls to retain shape. But I think it's a season where almost all hair types are able to experience the never-ending struggle of curly hair people, right? So what we experience over those 3-4 months, unfortunately, a lot of the curly haired people are experiencing all year round.
Everyone thinks that monsoon is very equivalent to hair fall. Like monsoon arrives, that means your hair fall starts, like by default. What is the real science behind it? So online, there's this term called shedding season, and people just associate come monsoon, it's time for hair loss. So what is your take on it? What is the real science behind it?
There's no direct connection between monsoon and hair fall. Any individual's cycle of growth and the phase of, you know, consistent growth, and then the phase of slowly aging, and then the phase of dying is very individual. However, what does happen during this weather is your scalp does become oversensitive. It does start getting clogged very easily because you are constantly sweating. So if there's even the slightest build-up on your scalp, you are clogging the follicles. Hence, the nutrition to the hair is getting limited. Hence, there is a possibility of more hair falling.
Okay.
So it's not like come monsoon and your hair will start falling and then the masses will start losing hair. So this mass shedding, so to speak, is not really, I mean, it's a myth. But yes, the indirect relation is in the fact that the scalp can get pretty compromised and affected during this weather, because of which, yes, the hair can also feel the, it can feel more fragile. It can, it can break more easily. The resilience around it is maybe compromised to some extent if the scalp is getting irritated and sensitized. If you're maintaining scalp health, then your hair is also maintained. The bigger problem where hair is concerned is dehydration, frizz, a lack of shape, a lack of shine. It tends to look dull, it tends to look lifeless, limp. These are the larger problems which are hair length related.
Okay. What are some biggest myths that you've heard in terms of monsoon hair care? Like, there are a lot of things that people do to prevent this so-called monsoon frizz, right? Like, they start oiling their scalp and their strands a lot more. Or they apply like DIY mixes of protein packs, or like with your eggs, besan, aloe vera, all of that stuff, just to tackle all of the monsoon frizz. So what is your take on it, or what are some of the biggest myths that you've heard in terms of monsoon hair care?
So, I mean, honestly, it's about what works for you. I have never had a problem with oiling. I don't have a problem if you're using rice masks on your hair, if you're using avocado on your hair, if you're using beer on your hair, if you're using oil on your hair. It should work for you. And if it did work for you in a particular season, will it continue to work for you in this season is not always a promise. If avocado suited you at one point of time, will it continue to suit you in this weather is not always a guarantee. So, like your skincare, hair care changes with season, so should any form of home remedy. But definitely, over-oiling is not a solution in any way at all. If you're actually increasing the chances of building a breeding ground for infection, because oil, just because of its consistency, because of how heavy it is, you're not able to remove it that easily anyways.
Yeah.
Right? So you always get into the vicious cycle of over-washing, over-scrubbing to get rid of the residue of oil. And in that bargain, you're actually also removing the natural moisture, the natural lipid layer of the hair. So, yes, you can oil your scalp if it works for you, oil your length if it works for you. Do it in moderation. Leaving it for 12-15 hours is not any help. Applying 2 bowls instead of 1 bowl is not of any extra help. The amount your scalp or hair needs to absorb is anyways getting absorbed. Anything beyond that is only a bigger resistance on how you're able to take it off. Right?
Yeah.
So you're just using double shampoo, you're scrubbing much more, and you're removing any form of natural oils of your hair. So, and like I said, over and above that, curd, eggs, avocado, there are a lot of rice masks, there are a lot of these oil remedies that are going on these days, which is with methi and with onion and with, things like that, if you're using rosemary, any of these kind of home remedies, if it works for you, great. Your scalp and your hair will tell you if something is working for you, right? If you've gone heavy with it, you will find it telling you that this is not suiting me. If you're itching constantly, and if you're irritated, and if your scalp is burning, and if it is leading to small boils, it's telling you that this is not working for me. So you also have to be able to listen to what your scalp and your hair or even your skin is telling you. And you should be innovating your treatment on the basis of that if you work with things from the kitchen shelf.
Makes sense. So, do you think overuse of all of these DIY-ish masks can cause oversensitivity of the scalp in the long run?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be
That.
some big, long-term, irreparable damage. There are very, very few home remedies that can do that. For example, henna. Yes, that is going to cause you a damage which can become a roadblock for a lot of what you might want to do with your hair in the future. But overusing oil is not, it's not going to be something that you are not able to cope with in the long run. But like I said, if you're not listening to what your hair is telling you, then yes, over time you might end up making it way too dry, and the frizz factor will increase. The expansion of the hair will start increasing because it's losing its natural moisture.
So, can over oiling the hair or even tying up wet hair, like during, like maybe you stepped out and then you got caught up in the rain and your hair, like, it's gotten wet, like a little bit, you got caught in the rain. So, you naturally end up tying it up just to cover it up, right? So, will over oiling your hair or tying up even like slightly damp hair cause any kind of issues for your hair? Like, will it worsen the problem?
So, any kind of, first of all, over washing itself is not required. Whether it is of your skin, whether it is of your hair. So just constantly putting water on your face or on your scalp, especially on your scalp, what tends to happen is because you feel sweaty, you feel sticky, you tend to just keep jumping into the shower. But you have to understand that the routine the skin or the hair or the scalp needs is that cleanse, condition routine. You have to cleanse and water is not a natural cleanser. It's not carrying any cleansing agent with it.
Okay.
So, with that overwashing also comes the problem that you talked about, where it doesn't dry soon enough, so you just tie it wet. That can be, yes, a bigger problem because it's a breeding ground for infection again, right? So, anything which has moisture, if that moisture is concentrated, you can see breeding of fungus, algae in any surface. You see that even in your bathrooms, let's say, right? So the same thing happens on your scalp. If it is constantly wet, if it is not drying out is allowing the breathing to happen.
Correct.
The minute it is wet and you've tied it, you've sealed that dampness over there. And that can then lead to a buildup of infection. So, yes, that can be the problem. So, if you want to kind of pour water down just to feel cool, do that in the body. Avoid constantly washing your face because even there, then you're sapping the natural moisture out of your skin. And the same goes for your scalp as well. If you really want to indulge in washing on a daily basis, you have to follow the cleanse, condition routine. And every time you rinse your skin, you need to do that with like the mildest cleanser. So maybe if you tend to wash it, let's say 4 times a day instead of twice a day, move to a cleanser which is the mildest cleansing agent. but there has to be an element of cleansing to it. Especially if you're a person who, let's say, wears makeup, right? If you have product on your skin, let's say it's waterproof product, but you keep putting, water on it, then that product is just, you're not allowing your skin to breathe in any way at all. So it can lead to skin infections, it can lead to scalp infections. So overall, over-washing should be avoided, and definitely any kind of tying of damp hair should be avoided. It can definitely lead to infections which can be almost painful. That's how, how much the infection can increase, because you tend to keep itching. You can create scabs, you can create wounds because of how much you're itching. That's the first sign of the fact that your scalp is starting to get irritated.
Okay. So, is it true when people say that people who naturally dry their hair, right, like air dry their hair, your hair takes a long time to dry? And what do you recommend?
Natural drying is a great process. If your hair tends to naturally dry, it's a great process. But naturally drying and tying wet hair and allowing it to dry are two very different things. When it's naturally drying, it's free, it's open, it's breathing. But when it is wet and you've tied it, then you're creating clusters of dampness, which is the problem. Natural drying is a great process. If I could naturally dry my hair all the time, I would love to do it. But people who do have slightly thick hair, it will end up taking much longer.
Yeah.
Some people are able to air dry within half an hour, and that's great. But my hair can sometimes takes up to close to 2.5 hours to dry out.
Yeah.
So in that case, moving to the mildest form of artificial drying with a heat protection on a low heat mode can be a reasonably decent solution. If you have fans in your residences, then sitting under the fan and kind of allowing your hair to dry is a great additional, it's a tool which can kind of aid drying even faster. Using the dryer on a cool mode can be another way of drying pretty quick.
Okay.
Obviously, making sure that you're towel drying it really well after you washed it is important. So any form of drying that is suitable and helpful for you should be used.
What are some salon go-to treatments for monsoon frizz or monsoon damage or any kind of repair solutions?
So at Bodycraft, we really like to work with a very dual treatment concept. We do not believe that there is a one solution end to end for your scalp all the way down to your length. So the infection of irritated scalp, oily scalp, unbalanced scalp, sensitized scalp, a dandruff scalp is very scalp related. A treatment for the hair does not need a scalp treatment, and a treatment for the scalp does not necessarily need a length treatment. So the System Professional Reborn therapy that we work with is a therapy which is purely based on this concept, that there is a separate range itself which is a scalp range. The balance range or the purify range of System Professional works purely on the scalp, and then there is a range which is exclusively for the length. And when we analyze your scalp and hair with an analysis machine, a tool which is used to analyze your scalp and hair, we arrive at a combination of what is meant to be done for the scalp and what is meant to be done for the length to give you the ultimate reborn therapy. We have a fantastic caviar treatment that is done with 310X products as well, which is excellent for hair which is maybe sensitized, which is compromised, which has become very dry, which has become very dehydrated over a period of time. A fantastic new introduction at Bodycraft is a brand of products called Moxie, which is an exclusive range of products for curly hair. So for the first time, we have an entire solution for curly haired people. There are going to be, like you do a blow dry for normal hair, wavy hair, you do a style treatment for curly hair. So that's a separate treatment altogether. Like you do an alchemy service or a spa service for normal straight wavy hair, you now have an exclusive care treatment for curly haired people. You have products which are for colored hair, for smoothened hair, for normal hair, for scalp problems. You now have an entire range of products, whether care or whether styling, for curly hair. It comes with its set of accessories. There are tools. So there is special combing brushes, which are a part of their,
the
retail therapy. So their treatments are excellent and will be the most useful for curly haired people during this season, right? We work with Olaplex and have been working with Olaplex. We now have a variation of, Olaplex is of course continuing as retail, but as a Plex treatment, we have a very exclusive no break treatment that has been launched, which is exclusively for hair which tends to break very easily. So if you have midsection breakage, if hair is extremely fragile and it's breaking, some people are breaking their hair even as they they're running their hair, hands through the hair, you see hair coming out. You will see midsection breakage. That is a sign of sometimes wrong tools used for drying, even wrong scrunchies and bands being used, heat being used the wrong way. So, or if you have over-processed your hair through certain treatments. So for that, we have an exclusive treatment. The no-break treatment goes down almost at the molecular bond level, and it helps repair hair to that degree. So any of these treatments, depending on your hair type and depending on the problem you're facing at that point of time, are going to work excellent for a person during this season.
Okay, like for an average, just an average estimate, how often should somebody get these salon spa treatments, the hair spa treatments?
As often as a week.
Once a week.
As often as even twice a week if required.
Okay.
If you're having a severe scalp concern, if you have chronic dandruff issues, if you have a chronic sensitized, irritated scalp issue, you can even do it twice a week. You can do it once a week. You must do it at least twice a month. Fortnightly is a recommended time gap between treatments so that at the first stage, issues are addressed. So if you're facing a particular issue, a scalp issue, a hair fall issue, for which you need the frequency of at least every fortnight, and then the follow-up can slow down to maybe once a month.
So sometimes people, they get a little bit too overwhelmed and they want to try every spa treatment, right? So do you think in 1 week mixing 2 different spa treatments are going to be beneficial, or will they cancel each other out? Like, how would that work?
It depends why you're doing the treatment. If you're doing it twice a week, you're obviously doing it to address some concern. Then you stick to what is going to address the concern for you. Then you don't do spa shopping. For a lack of a better term, I guess, right? But if you are just, if you're just after looking after your hair and you want to experience different types of treatments, it's great actually. It's great to explore different products, different treatments, but ideally under guidance and consultation. You should let the expert help you understand whether that particular treatment is for you. So just out of exploring, if a person who's maybe done, let's say, a semi-permanent smoothing treatment goes and experiences something which has sulfate, paraben, and they're not supposed to use sulfate and paraben-based products, then obviously it's a conflict, right? If somebody's colored their hair, and they should ideally be working with treatments which are going to suit colored hair to retain the color, then you just choose something off the menu and decide, oh, I just want to try it out, is not as easy as choosing food out of a restaurant menu, right? Some things in skincare and hair care should be left to the consultant's guidance. And while you may have read about certain things, and Google is giving you so many inputs, Insta is giving you so many inputs, YouTube is giving you so many inputs, is that suitable for you or not, should be the final decision of somebody who's a professional.